Okay, my name is Sunil Matthew. I'm at FMS. I guess I'm in the time clock division because this company, FMS, and I merged back in May of this year, and we're in the big middle of production as far as getting the two softwares to merge together and present as one. And our goal is to provide complete time and attendance, payroll, and do you do your accounting services through us?
Yes.
Okay, so all of this should be seamless and transparent eventually when we get this whole thing delivered in a timely manner. So software as a service is what we built this company from when we started it in 2007. So it's always been in the cloud. So what we feel like is a better option for the retailer, especially the one that doesn't have a large IT staff to maintain and do all the things that's necessary. We are in the midst of migrating into a new state-of-the-art time clock with a 10-inch touchscreen. Numerous reader options are available. We have an industry software that's very proprietary. I was in the grocery business for over 20 plus years. Developed the software because I saw the need for it out there in the wholesale and retail industry. The thing that I really focused on was going to try to build together a product that delivers scheduling, budgeting, and all actual time and attendance all rolled up into one. We've addressed some concerns about ACA compliance. Also, we're integrating our software right now. It is integrated with FMS payroll. And what we try to focus on is delivering bottom line savings for labor and have you able to recognize or the ability to show itself some areas where you might be deficient as far as writing a schedule, delivering total product for your stores as far as a budget is concerned. You're able to create a budget within the program. And through software as a service, each one of your stores will have option to see all the information that you're providing for them. Also, we have POS.
But
Pardon me?
is that when you talk about budget, is that you just talking about on the labor side, or are you talking about a full budget for a P&L?
Full budget for a store's operation on a weekly basis. So you put in a weekly sales budget. We'll go into that here in just a minute when we go into the live demo.
Uh-huh.
So mainly what I'm talking about is for me to run a store and that was functional, I had to have a sales goal. That's what I'm referring to budgets. Then it
Yeah.
trickles down from there to what each department you set distribution percentages that creates a budget for the different departments. So we address
Mm-hmm.
store in the operation sense where you take a budget and you're able to carve out each piece for we refer to the departments within a store as a store within a store. So you're able to run multiple store within a stores, and we try to teach each one of those stores to run profitably, enabling you to have a very profitable operation overall. But these are all tools that we're going to provide for you. And as with any tool, you have to learn how to use it and how to best mold it into the kind of operation that you guys are running. So there's no software to buy. It electronically collects and tracks your workforce. We believe SaaS model, your ROI is realized quickly because we maintain all the software in the cloud, as FMS does. One of the main features of the program is you're able to have staffing requirements that are predicted by the program for you. And this is just a tool for you to gauge on how to run your meat department, for instance. It might show you through a couple of the tools that we have installed in the program how you're performing. Through POS integration, you're able to see what you budgeted versus actually what's happening within the store. ACA compliance is a big moving target, and it's kind of moving a little faster right now because of the election year. We don't know where that piece is going to look like come next year. So we're compliant up to the point where we're at today. You're able to manage multiple locations from one location, global messaging, employee communication portal, and complete FMS payroll and HR integration is available.
Nice.
Pardon me?
That's nice.
It really
so when
is.
you put somebody in the FMS system, is it going to automatically be in the time clock?
Eventually. So right now we're focused on two main targets, which is to get the clock rock solid up and running, and then we have another project to integrate FMS software into the Labor Saver software to where we can have exactly what you're talking about. We're working towards should be the first quarter of next year. We should have bidirectional communication between the software. So if you will, FMS payroll software or FMS software, which you are entering employees in now, will become the parent. Labor Saver will become the child relationship. So anything that you enter into an employee profile will be pushed down into the software, into Labor Saver. So there's not dual entry that's required.
Yeah, double work. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know how difficult it can be, and we haven't reached that point yet, but it's our goal to get that. It's on our target for the first quarter of next year to get that accomplished. There's a lot of moving parts right now.
Yeah.
What kind of a clocks are y'all using right now? How does an employee clock?
We have several. We have all kinds of. That's why I was asking Mark about, because we're getting ready to open up a new store, and we're wanting to kind of standardize what we do with time clocks and labor software and that kind of thing. And so right now we use a lot of Excel spreadsheets, and we have about every kind of time clock you can imagine, from the punch clocks all the way to biometric.
Okay, so our number one clock that we're leading out with, it does have nothing but biometric is what we recommend, but we do have badge readers, proximity readers that will be available if that's what you choose to go with. We believe biometrics so much. We invested a lot of money into making sure that this product that's coming out is as good as it can be as far as delivering standard performance. Just like you said, you want to make sure it's standard all across the board, because if you're doing payroll and you have 5 different units out there, or 4 different units in your case, it's got to be a nightmare to get payroll out. One of the main features is eliminating buddy punching through the biometric feature, and also you're able to view several options. A couple of the things that we think profit deficiency in profit is overtime and break management. We handle all that through the software. Like you said, it's going to standardize your operation as we roll out these features and show you how these work within your systems. So right now we're going to, you have any questions so far with what I've said?
I don't think so.
I know as we go through this is very interactive, so you can stop me at any time. Let's kind of discuss what the software is doing. If I'm speaking way too fast, you might just stop me and say, hey, let's kind of go back and discuss it. So it's kind of interactive. This is your webinar, so let's make the best use out of it. FMS team, when we set up your software, we'll set up your database, we'll set up your chain, we'll set up all your stores and your departments within each one of the stores. So we'll do all that work for you. What kind of POS do you have right now for your front end?
We have ISS 45.
That's great, because we can completely integrate that into our software if you'd like to have that feature where you get daily sales actually being imported into Labor Saver, so you can see what your actual versus your budgeted daily features look like, daily numbers look like, I should say.
Hey, I've been asking John Klein for that for like 5 years now, and I hadn't got it. So.
We're here.
Harass him. Do what?
We're here now. So that feature is available, and that's something that we offer as a service to you guys.
Yeah, because I spend literally probably at least an hour a week and then probably 20 hours at the end of the year rebuilding Excel spreadsheets that I can have where all my files update and keep my labor for me. It'd be so much nicer to have it on a y'all's portal or somewhere where we could just log in and all my store directors could automatically see their labor every week and
Yeah,
their sales comp.
yeah, I think you'll see all of that. Now, is it fully 100% like you want it? Probably not, but there's a lot of similarities from what, my industry experiences, how this program came about. We wanted to make sure that we leverage that, plus what you guys are working through to make sure that we provided best service out there for you guys. So in your case, this is what your store will look like. You have what, 4 stores there, Wayne?
We're about to have 7.
7, okay. So
We have one opening sometime first next year. So
that's right. You have one coming up in February?
yeah, February or somewhere around that date.
Okay.
Not exactly sure yet, but we think 1st of February.
Well, great. This is what your stores will look like. All your stores will be listed here. The managers' names and assistant managers' names will be here. And what you'll see is scalability within our program. This store right here could be in a largely densely populated area where you offer a lot of specialty departments within the department. So for your meat department, you might have, butcher block and then specialty seafood section. In your produce department, you might have cut fruits, baker deli. You might have a baker deli or a hot deli, cold deli, bakery, hot bakery, cake departments. You can specify all those within our program. You're not limited by any means. But here's kind of what standard operations will look like. You have as many departments, as many employees in one store you need. This is a typical store. It's roughly 6 departments. We're just talking about grocery, baker deli, produce, meat. You might have cashiers, stockers. So if you want to see what the departments look like within the store, you're able to see, from an operational standpoint, you might be able to see something similar to this, where you see grocery, cashiers. It's kind of what your store looks like right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
And you'll see.
I mean, not that many departments, though.
Pardon me? Oh, yeah.
Just not that many departments.
Yeah, I've seen as many as 23 departments. Some places go up as 27, which I think it muddies the water a little bit. But if you want to get granular, that's the best way you can do that. So you'll see this is what some of your stores will look like. But we're going to focus on store number 6. That's where I've invested a lot of time as far as making sure all the numbers that are populated in this store look similar to what your operations would look like. Your FMS department numbers will be listed here, and all your employees. This will total the number of employees in one store, but this breaks it down even further, tells you what all the grocery employees will look like right here. And we'll be going into one of the employee profiles for a quick overview of what we look for within an employee so that we can touch some finer points. Does this look like what you're used to seeing? Where in our situation, there's a chain, a store, and departments within the store. That's what makes up the store. And each employee, when you hire an employee, they have a default home, which we call their default department or home department. Were you going to say?
Yeah, that's similar to what we see.
Pardon me?
It looks very similar to a FMS payroll report.
So you'll see a lot of similarities, I'll tell you. We'll just look at Kenneth Anderson. This is a fictitious employee that we put up here. And the things that are required is first, middle, last name. This is your FMS payroll number. That's what would be populated here. This will be automatically generated by the system for you, which is a time clock ID. So this number will represent Kenneth. It could be 20163, it could be a 4-digit, 5-digit number. System will generate that for you automatically. Biometric, this is where an employee, when you see a print, if you want to make sure that employee is fingerprinted, you can view and or clear the employee. If he has a bad fingerprint, you can clear it out and re-enroll the employee. This is some of the things that are new because in the past we've relied on other people to provide software for the time clock, but Mark, Bob, and John Klein and all of them, we've decided to write our own software for the time clock. So we're in control of what happens to our stores. We know how to best affect what the stores need, and we're able to react to your needs in a quicker manner. And this is some basic information. If you have employees, most of your employees at store level will be hourly, where it does have the capability of having salary employees, and this is a weekly salary figure. We do calculate your sales per man hour, average hourly rate. We calculate budget, labor dollars, all those things that you're doing by Excel spreadsheet. This system will do for you. That's one of the main reasons that we are really proud of what we've accomplished here. So threshold hours, they started out when we built the program as a setting for minor employees. We needed to know when there were a minor employees working within our stores, and you're able to set the desired number of hours. So if they can only work 18 hours in one week, we suggest that you put 14 in. That gives you at 14 hours, whenever this employee reaches 14 hours, system will notify by an alert to email or text message to the store manager and the department manager.
Nice.
So that's nice because in some of the areas that we operate currently, there are some labor rules that are really very restrictive to minor employees, and there's been fines. So that's why we came up with this notification so the store can react. Now, technically, by law, we can't actually clock these employees out, but there's an alert. You can really affect what goes on to that for that employee and within your store. This also applies to part-time employees. If you wanted to say right now 30 hours for 90 days, is that what you guys are seeing as far as ACA compliance for somebody?
30 hours. What was that? 30 hours for what?
90 consecutive days is considered full-time. Is that what you guys are hearing?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what we picked a year look back, I think.
Yeah.
On our, so technically it's probably a year, but yeah, that definitely is something that we need to get better at, is managing the part-time, full-time.
And that's what this will do for you. I know I belong to a group of think tank people that addresses ACA and what all it means, and I have to have definition. I think what they're telling us is 90 days, 30-hour average, it will be becoming full-time. So what we recommend is you put in 24 hours. So that puts you in a better position where you're in an actionable mode than a reactionary mode. And we have a report that we put especially for this that will allow you to maintain your part-time to full-time ratio by this. Now, we're not penalizing anybody. We're just alerting you this employee is approaching 24 hours, and you're able to act. And if you still need the employee to work for another 5-6 hours, you're able to do that. There's a report that's available that I'll show you here in a little while that tells you what your part-time to full-time people and what they're averaging, and you can choose from a date picker. If you want to choose a year, you can see a year's worth of data, or if you want to see what your last 4 or 5 weeks look like, this will give you all the information that's necessary to make a decision for you guys. Data higher.
So does that threshold, you were talking about the 90 days, is that just on a weekly basis, or will it actually wait until it's 90 days and they've averaged over 24 hours?
No, we'll actually do weekly. Is that what you're asking?
Well, I was wondering if you could set it up to where it wouldn't, because I don't want to have my store manager getting 37 texts a week from the payroll system. I'd rather it be, once every 90 days on this scenario anyway. where you're trying to manage the ACA, it would be probably more helpful just to get the email when they approach the 24 hours for the 90 days. But I don't know if
Yeah,
that's,
there's different schools of thought on that, and we really have to come up with a standard. There's several suggestions, but this report right here, there's a time clock report that'll show, which they can run weekly to see exactly where your employees stand at any given time.
Mhm.
So we feel that is a
Yeah,
better approach.
that'd be very helpful.
Yeah, so we do have that report available. We do announce birthdays and anniversaries. So if you wanted to make a big deal out of employees' birthdays, you're able to do so. So that's why date of birth and date of hire is important, because we feel like when you recognize these employees, that's a pretty big kudos for the organization, because it shows that you guys care about your employees, or at least make a big deal out of it. Some of these employees are
Yeah.
working for us just for the recognition. Hey, Wayne thought about me, or, hey, thanks for working for us for X number of years, or birthday cake or a cupcake or something like that, that you're able to provide for the employees. That's usually plays a big kudos for you guys. Review
Yeah.
note is anytime you have a conversation with an employee, whether it's derogatory or even positive, we encourage both to be entered into the system. So you can put appending notes, and it'll be date and timestamp. So it's important when you have a conversation that you make it a point to notify that into the program, and it is viewable. So if you have a 90-day policy for an employee, when you hire them, say, look, we have a 90-day policy. We'll determine if you're going to be a permanent employee with us, or at that time, you have an opportunity to make a decision. So this becomes a viewable, archivable data that you can keep on the employee. We have several stores that use it just for that purpose.
Yeah.
This kind of, go ahead.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You
This
don't have
right
to worry
here
about
can,
lost review papers.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
You don't have to worry about lost review papers. Like
Yeah.
come up missing or something.
Yeah, once you log it in here, it's not, it's read only. It becomes permanent on their
Yeah.
record.
Yeah.
And you can archive it, it's archived for you. This kind of rounds out the employee profile here, but we do communicate with employees. Of course, active, part-time, full-time status is set right here. And active, whenever employee leaves your employment, you just make them inactive. What that does is takes them off of all active roles within the program, but we maintain their records for you to be previewed at any time.
Mm-hmm.
We do, for the employee communication portal, we do require either email, text message, or both. If it's an email, then you put accurate email address. If it's text message, you put in their mobile number and choose a provider from the list of providers we provide for you. I think we've covered all the major, even some of the local ones, but the ones that you pay as you go, we do not cover those because they do not provide enough data for us to pull that information. Plus, you don't know how long they're going to be around, so we kind of just forego
Yeah.
that.
Hey, Sunil, back on that review date that you were talking about, the
Yes, sir.
review notes. Can that? I'm assuming this is probably standard, but I just wanted to know. Can you set that thing up to like notify the store director like every 6 months for a review, like an employee review after their hire date?
That's the first time I've been requested that. No, I'm sure we can set something up. Let me make a note of that. That's a very good suggestion.
I just was thinking that would be a good way for our store directors, because you typically have an employee comes up and say, hey, can I get a raise? I've been here for a year now, and the store director goes, oh, whoops, I didn't realize you've been here a year. And so just a way to manage for the store director, if you had an email like once a month or something that would say, hey, these are the people coming up in December for their annual or their semi-annual review.
Now, I don't have that notification in here, but we're kind of going under the guise of what you just said. We don't want the store manager to get so many emails. They look at these emails as, more of a hindrance than an opportunity. So we try to
Yeah.
limit exactly how we do that. There is a report that you can run that tells you when their hire date is. If maybe it's a weekly thing that they do, you can look at the report is available within the program. I'll show you that report a little bit. So every employee will get a username. It can be any kind of alias they want to use. System will accept it. And when they first get set up, system will generate a username and password. You send it to them by either email or text message. That becomes their port of entry into the program. Only thing they're available to see is, number one, they can see their schedules, they can see how many hours they worked in the week, and they can request time off. That's all they can do. Only people have access to this. This is role-based, or if you have a special employee that you probably call a corporate HR person that you want to have access to all this information, we can make that available to that person. As a matter of fact, we do have that available for the store managers, or if you want to have personnel staff only access employee records. It's strictly up to you how you want us to do that. Once we fill all this out, you choose a role for the employee, choose location. Now this is going to be very, very typical for you since if you have one person in your office that's going to be entering all the data for these people, you can actually assign employees to different stores as they're entering it in. And that's one of the major reasons why we built it like this. And you choose what department they work at. Then you can set employee availability. What time are they available to work? And this is something you won't see anywhere else. We even have a split day that's available. So one of the main reasons I put this in here is because when I was in college, I used to, my junior and senior level had some time during the day that I could work. I had a class in the morning, class in the evening, but I had some daytime hours I was available if I wanted to take some extra hours. This gives you the opportunity to do that. Or if you just want to have, for all your full-timers, it'll probably be all day. But some of your kids that are in special activities within their school or any organizations that they believe that they're in, you can set this. Again, it's set by a store manager or one of the personnel staff that you assign to handle this for you. So that, in a big, long, rambling way, is how you set up an employee. But I wanted you to see that because it's very important that we look at all this for you. You have any questions?
No, I think it's all pretty self-explanatory.
And it really is. We built this program to be very intuitive so that you guys would understand. And once we go through the process, Wayne, you'll understand everything that we're talking about. And it's really how our scheduling and budgeting, time and attendance should be written similar to what this is. But we're kind of biased.
Yeah.
Okay. So that kind of finishes out the store, the employee, and the departments. So when we go in and talk about budgets, we're talking about you can set a budget for a quarter, for a year, or just for 4 weeks at a time or 2 weeks at a time, and you can set it for your stores. What's really nice about this program is when you or your director of operations can set this for the stores quarter at a time, and that becomes their number, their target number that they work towards.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what it looks like when we set a budget. Okay, week beginning, you set the budget amount, and what it does is breaks all your departments down. Where do you want these departments to be, where their wages to be allocated to? For the meat markets, usually meat market. Cashiers, it's usually a store budget, but there's some stores that just want it to be a grocery. So all the numbers will work off of the grocery sales. Same thing with deli, same thing with managers. I think that also should be a store budget. But you're able to set where their wages will be allocated to according to this program. Then you set the distribution levels. When you set the distribution, it's actually creating a budget for the meat market guy. Does the store department heads write their own schedules in your stores?
Yeah.
So what you're actually doing is based on this distribution, and this could be based on an average of, whatever number that you want to use. Could be 12 weeks, could be, you know, same period last year. You're able to put this number in here, and it's very, very quick as far as the number is changing. Change that. As you see, the numbers all will total what your total store budget is. And this becomes the budget by which a meat market guy will write a schedule. Same thing with bakery, same thing with produce and the other departments that write the schedules. You save the changes. You can leave it in draft mode if this is the first time you're writing a schedule for your stores. You want to leave it in draft mode till you get ready to publish it. It's usually the week before you want to publish the budget. Or if in your case, you might want to go ahead and do a month at a time, so the store departments know what to expect. Any questions?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty basic.
How do they get notified of that budget? Does it email them, or how does that work?
So when I'm a store manager, they all have access to the program. When they sit to write their schedules, this will already be populated out there. And I'll show you that here in a minute. Did y'all understand about the wage allocations and the distributions?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
That's what you do on your Excel spreadsheet, right?
kind of. We're not that detailed. We use labor percent for each department. Is what we've been doing.
Yeah.
But we're not that precise. But IE is why we want to talk to you. So.
Yeah. So this becomes their budget. So what you're actually doing is creating the budgets for your departments for those four walls to run an effective store. You're setting these numbers for them. Great thing about this nothing is set in stone as far as it's concerned. You can go at any time, week prior to, you can change these numbers. If it's, this should never be static. If it is, there's an issue. There should be some changes periodically throughout the year. Would you agree?
Yeah. Things change.
Yes, they do. So we're just going to look at these numbers as, direct budget. So when the employees are ready to go write a schedule for, let's say, the meat department for this week, their budget is this. Okay? And they have an option to go either above. So store manager or whoever was writing the budget forgot that there was a 3-day meat sale. And these guys are expecting to run more. So they might say 24.5 is what they're expecting to run that week. Now, whenever you populate that field, all the numbers will work off of this number. So this will become obsolete because you saw the numbers change. 7.57% of this is $1,854. And you put in a target sales per man hour, you can get that information from your records, which I know you guys work off of something similar to that, right?
Yeah, we actually do labor percentages is what we do.
Yeah. Well, what this will do is this will give you a target number of hours that they can use for the week. So what we're actually saying is you can use 162 hours to run $24,500. And this does calculate the wage percent down here. So this tells them that you got this number. They cannot write a schedule above that. So the total number of scheduled hours, and that's populating as they're writing the schedule for each one of the people over here. That makes sense?
Yeah, based on their availability, is that what that?
No, this is based on whatever you write a schedule for. So you add 8 hours here, it's populating this field over. This thing is ever changing. So the week that we're looking at here, they wrote a schedule for 132 hours, and this is their scheduled labor dollars. Average hourly rate is this. Here's your labor percent that you're looking for. It calculates all this for you automatically. This is your,
So I guess, let me ask, who put Rebecca Adams on Sunday? Is that something the store director did? I mean, the market manager did, or is that
yes.
something the system automatically populated?
No, it is actually what the store department heads are doing.
So they write their schedule in the system.
That's right. And I'll show you.
What happens if Rebecca Adams says she can't work on Sundays? Does it tell them, hey, this lady's not available on Sunday?
Yes, if you approve that time off, it'll be red in this area over here, and she won't be able to work that day.
So it automatically shows them that blocks her out.
That's right. And this is her schedule. So here, to make things a little bit clearer, let's just go and write a quick budget. And just once you go through the process, you'll get this.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say we're going to write a schedule for week beginning the 15th. Let's say the budget amount is 200,000. And here's a nice feature. So you don't have to go back and recreate the budget distributions every time. You can go copy a distribution from previous. That's the only thing you're copying is the wage allocation and the distribution amounts. So this is for week 11-15. The week starts on Sunday. You pay weekly or bi-weekly?
Weekly.
So that will show up here. And here's where you can, if you feel like this week is a little bit more aggressive, let's say 28%, Baker Deli is going to do 11%, and meat produce is going to do 15%. This will calculate immediately based on, well, crap. That was my fat fingering it. So we created this budget. So we created this budget, and here it is. It's in draft mode. The week before, we'll take it from budget. And you're going to change it from draft to published. So we're going to focus on that meat department. When we write a schedule. So when the meat department guy sits down to write the schedule, because that's all he has access to, go to new schedule. Meat department will already be populated. Let's say we're going to go to 11-15. And here's the nice feature. You can have the last 6 weeks you can copy to where you don't have to rewrite the schedule. There's going to be a lot of people that have the same schedules, especially your full-time people and your market managers, yeah. Maybe a couple of other people. You know, you don't have to recreate the schedule every time. But you can move people up and down according to your pecking order within the department. I don't know a better way to say that. Say Amanda is your second in that. Let's say Lisa is your assistant manager. You can move them up and down, and as long as you save schedule and budget, they'll stay in that order. It's really slow today.
So if you have huge swings in your sales from like week 1 of the month to week 4 of the month,
yes.
And you just refer back to week 1 or week 4,
yes, sir.
And copy that,
and then make adjustments.
Yeah, it'll make the adjustment according to what week of the month you're into.
Yes, say Lisa, he's your second. Then once you have everything set the way you want, that's why we didn't have any of this in alphabetical order, because we want it to be to where you set the schedule like you write it currently. So let's say your target labor for this department is 8%, calculates your wage percent, and let's say 285 hours is your scheduled sales per man hour. So it tells you how many hours you can use for this week to run this kind of sales. You save all of that. Then as we're adjusting hours, let's say she's not going to work that day, but she's working. But the number of hours automatically were depleted here, and as you write the schedule, the way you write a schedule is 6A to 11A, then you put 12P to 3B. And you watch over here, and it'll automatically, once I tab out, it'll add those hours in. See how it did that? It's always calculating based on as your schedule. Let's say we're going to remove this, but we got to add a couple hours over here.
Bars where you could have those 6 or so schedules. You just click on one the first of the month.
Mm-hmm.
If it goes in the month, you click on it.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
And say if you got a split shift here that you want them to come back at 3, work till 8, the system will automatically capture those hours and calculate based on all the numbers that are that's populated into the employee profile. So what's this saying is they're at 194 hours for the week. And I also, when I was in stores, I wanted to run the store based on number of hours I created for the week. This becomes your budgeted hours for the day, and this becomes your total for the day. And Monday, when you come in, you can actually see how they performed, and you're able to make adjustments. Because if you're not making adjustments at the first of the week, when you get to the end of the week, it's already shot. You're waiting for next week to get caught up. And then
you end up cutting hours on the busiest day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, by Thursday, Friday, Saturday, usually now it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you're, caught with your pants down. You don't want to do that. Then the actual sales will populate here. This becomes a variance between the two. So you're able to see where you're at for the week as the week is progressing.
Nice. That's much better than what we have now.
And you can see what your sales look like. Once the sales are uploaded, you'll be able to see what your sales forecast tells you, how many employees you should have on staff at that time.
That's great.
Tells you between 7 and 8 how many employees you should have. I'm just going to give you a disclaimer. We tried every algorithm out there possible. There's just no way to account for perishable departments, because in the meat department, in the mornings, it'll probably tell you need 1.8 person. There's just no way to have 1.8. Sometimes you might need 3. You might have a person that's going to be working the lunch meat counter, somebody that's going to be working your red meat, they're pulling their meat, doing what's necessary with the product that's there, and somebody that's working your pork or chicken. So it does not take into those account, that part during the first of the day. So it might say you'll need 0.8, but when you actually know, there's some common sense got to play a part.
Yeah. That's because they're doing all the prep so that they can have the sales later in the day. Yeah.
Exactly. And here,
cashier.
Yeah, and here, if you thought you're going to do 20% less, you just put in 80%. Same thing the other way. If you think you're going to do more, you can do more, and this will give you more. This is just a tool by which you can operate when you're writing a schedule. So when they're writing a schedule, I always want this to be open, so you're able to calculate, knowing where your busiest hours are, and you can make some decisions as you're writing the schedule. Y'all like that feature?
Yeah, yeah. So will you guys be doing trainings on this fairly regularly so that our store directors could do webinars or whatever and
You bet.
learn how to use things?
When you get to your 7 stores, once we sign you up, there's probably going to be a team of about 2 or 3 of us that'll come out there and install all the clocks for you, and we'll actually train each one of the stores. What we'd like to do in your situation is probably bring everybody into, like your department heads and store managers, into one training session, and then probably have another session strictly with just your office staff. If you have an office, do you have one person or a couple of people in your corporate office that's taking care of payroll and employee
Um,
information? I don't want to share any of that with the store unless that's what you want us to do.
yeah. Well, it's mostly handled by the store directors, but we do, payroll itself is handled through, which I do our admin payroll, but we have a lady that hands out the physical checks because we're not on drafts. We're still on physical checks.
Well,
So, but I was interested when you said that if we have one person who enters all the new hires, that would be a way to control a lot of stuff, from like name tags to uniforms to making sure all their information is correct on their W-2s and W-4s and they're entered into the system right.
yeah.
Those kinds of things. That would be interesting to see how most people are doing that, because right now we have store directors setting up new hires.
Yeah, and those guys have got so much on them anyway to ask them to do something like that. There's a group of stores here in my operating area where each one of the store has a personnel manager within the store.
Mm-hmm.
That's their job, is to make sure all compliances are met, employees are in the right department. If you have a training staff or training material, that employee's responsibility is to make sure that they went through the training, they did well, all the paperwork is handled by that one person. But in your situation, you might want to have one person in your office that's managing just that, because payroll at the end of the week will become child's play once we get through with payroll here. All you do is make sure all the, all the, excuse me for just a minute, all the hours are correct at store level. Store manager just clicks a button, it sends out payroll to FMS.
Nice.
Simplified. So that's it about scheduling. Y'all have any questions? Oh, this is another feature where employees can work at one store, or you can schedule them to work at another store from directly to their from this program. So if we go to store number 2, their schedule opens up. Rebecca Adams will be number 1 position on that schedule. That's to alert the store or the market manager that somebody else has been loaned out to that store.
Yeah, we do that fairly regularly, so that's a good feature to have.
Yeah, and also, now you probably do a paper chase to make sure the meat department gets charged and the other one doesn't get charged. This program handles it for you automatically. If I were to write a schedule here, she will show up on number 2 schedule, and no hours will be added to here. And all the hours, when Rebecca goes to number 2, all she does is takes her fingerprint, same clocks, standardized clocks. She goes in, clocks in, chooses the department she's going to work at, so that department will get charged with their hours. She goes to work.
So who actually writes the store number 6 or store number 2 write her schedule?
Their default store writes her schedule. So
he would need to communicate with the other store and say, hey, what days do you want Rebecca?
Yes, and if you have a floater, one person should be managing the floater schedule, and you're able to charge as many stores as you want them to work at in a 7-day period, and you can charge the stores will be automatically charged by the department they choose to work with them.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, that eliminates all the paperwork you forget to do.
That's great. And
Yeah.
so she clocks in at store number 2, and it's seamless. No transfers are needed to be made. It automatically knows,
Yeah.
and it bills her to the right store, to the right payroll, to the right department.
Yes, it does. And our clocks are so simple. Every time an employee clocks in, there's a drop down of departments. If they're working in a default store department that don't have to do anything, gives them an opportunity to, by just touching the screen, to whichever department that they belong to at another store. And same thing occurs within the store. So if you have Rebecca here, you want her to work in meat department from 7 to 11 and then go work in grocery from 11 to 4. All she does is when she comes back from lunch, or even you tell her to, just go to the clock and change departments, transfer departments. And part of it is your responsibility that we train the employees correctly, but all the paperwork goes away. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's neat. So would there be any, if she was scheduled correctly, like in the scheduling system for whatever, bakery and then meat at the second half of her shift, would the time clock prompt her to select meat the second shift, or how does that work? Does she have to know how to?
She has to know. She knows she's going to be working in another department. At that time, when she comes back, we can actually loan her out within the same store to another department, and it will show up. So here, let's say you want her to work in deli bakery, and you loan her out within the same store. You just add her hours here, and if we go to the deli bakery schedule, let's just say she's supposed to work 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. here, and from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. she works in bakery. That's how you do it. But you save it, and we can go to bakery. Do you want me to do that? So you can see.
No, as long as it works, I don't care.
Yeah, it really does work.
Need to know it's available.
Yeah, it is, and you see those numbers. See, those numbers actually declined here because the other store got charged with the other department got charged with those 4 hours. Now you got to have a mind of a grocery guy for this to work. We tested this and we tested it till it actually worked like we wanted it to.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, so that's that part of it. You have any questions with scheduling, budgeting? We're going to move on to the next part because I'm coming up. I'm working on. See, I get long-winded.
Yeah.
I'm so passionate.
Yeah, we got a meeting at 3, so I may need to.
Yeah.
May need to move along.
Okay, so the next part is timesheets. This is actual clock in, clock out from the program. This is actually read-only. This is just so you're able to look at what's happening, who worked what time did they punch in. That's just this. All you do is go to timesheets and displays everybody. This is your break management policy at work. System knows. Say you have a 15-minute break policy where you pay them for whatever your policy is. You're able to see exactly how many minutes that were paid for. If you have 2 breaks, we do ask them to clock out for breaks and clock back in. But if they're within the threshold that you set within the program, they will get paid for the break. But if they go over, they won't get paid for the break. They'll actually dock for the whole break.
Nice.
This is your overtime report. You're able to see what your overtime looks like on a daily basis. If they're in red, we intentionally did this. So they were scheduled for actually 7.5 hours. They worked 28 minutes over. We believe overtime and breaks, if you manage this system more than pays for itself in a month. So you look at the 28 minutes. What this is saying, if this is in red at the end of the week, before the week even starts, that means you're in trouble already. But you're able to manage these 30 minutes. You can have them take a longer lunch, clock in a little later, send them home a little earlier. Just makes you on a proactive role. So anytime you see red on their schedules, the way you get to that is just you're on view overtime.
Is there some kind of an automatic notification that can be set up within this if somebody goes, like, say, whatever parameter you set up 15 minutes over within a day, to where it would send out a text message to the store director and let him know that someone went over? And I'm just sitting here being proactive in case the store manager is not checking this report as he should.
Well, right now it's not available. That goes back to what we were saying. You know, if we're going to kill these guys with all these alerts, if you make them, there's a 5-minute manager we put together, and in training session, if you manage their program 5 minutes every day, you will see and all the things that are deficient within your stores, and you will see actually those things start tapering down. Your ROI is going to be really, really quick. But if we start killing them with all these text messages and alerts, and they'll start becoming callous to it, then it becomes counterproductive.
So I guess I can just kill them if they don't go to the report then.
Well,
Yeah.
well, the thing is, you know, you make it a habit for the first 30 to 60 days. Hey, you looked at your 5-minute manager in Labor Saver. That becomes a habit. You're establishing a habit. Otherwise, we're going to just alert them to death. And it becomes counterproductive is what we found out.
Right.
So this becomes an area. This is by department. So since you're director of operations, you got a problem area, you can go directly to that, print this off, and have one-on-one with the department head. Another thing that you're going to really like this is coverage report. So this, you're able to see what you schedule for the day and if there's any deficiencies. I used to be a front-end manager when I started. And this used to be how I managed my front end, to know I had plenty of checkers, and I had checkers throughout the day from opening to close, and you're able to actually make some decisions in your operational capacity. You're able to see, why do I have 5 employees on the schedule at one time? These usually between 12 and 4 is your weakest hours as far as sales goes. This might be by design, or this might be just somebody just flatlining a schedule. And again, it's just more oversight than you've ever had before, just to help you run your stores a little bit more efficiently. And this is by day. You can actually, in your situation, I never got your name. Wayne, I know your name, your operational director's name. What is it?
Keith.
Keith?
Yes.
Okay, Keith. So if you wanted to sit down and have conversation with your store manager, why is the schedule? Why does it look like this? And can you make this a little bit more efficient? This is to show, like here, I don't have any managers scheduled at all for this day. So you can see, then this is a whole store. If you have 17 departments, all 17 would be here. And if you didn't have any coverage, it'll be, like a red flag to you. And the darker the color, the more employees you have on shift at that time. Going on, whenever employees ask for time off, it'll be requested here, and they just go to time off and offer you the request. This is one of the 5 areas we ask, we train you to look at, and you can approve it, decline it. Employee gets notified. Employee gets notified whenever schedule is changed, when the schedule is affected positively or negatively.
So how do they make that request?
Whenever they have an option for this time off request, they just go here, make the request right here, add a new request. They'll just, if it's Christy and she works in Deli Bakery, only thing she will see is hers. But they actually can see what their schedule is, so all those call-ins to see when they work goes away. When you make it mandatory, look, don't call the store requesting your schedule. You can go online. And eventually, I think 1st of next year, employees will be able to see their schedule on the time clock. And this is messaging. You can, I've got a message. Okay. message is if you want to send a message to your whole store, or this will be by employee by next year. But if you want to choose all your departments, you can choose time to send it. Hey, I have insurance meeting. You can set this up for future dates and set the dates and time and just forget about it. And then messages will be sent to the stores at their allotted time. This right here is a report that I was showing you. You can choose the department, what the time frame is. This will show you actual clock in, clock out for that employee, and gives you an average number of hours this employee. Walter, for 2 weeks, total is this. His average number of hours is this. And you can see for your whole store. If you need to have some, you're going to kill another tree, you can print this report off. But if you can see it online, why print it off? There are other reports that are available. You can see an employee report. And if you want to just, this is one of the most ran reports. When we put this in, we just thought we were just doing this out of no reason, but first name, last name. Everybody wants to know what the mobile number is. And if you want employee time clock ID, date of hire, you want to have all this information presented to you, you can use this report to do it. And your financial report, if you wanted to see what the store is doing, and you want to compare stores as far as this is a report that's available. And you can run this at any time. You want to do same period over last year. You want to compare over under for last year. If you have some trouble departments or stores that are running similar sales, but their meat department is lagging behind in hours, you can see what that looks like. And you just choose a date picker, you submit the report. I'm going through here really quickly, but I just want you to see an overview. This is a really good report. Tells you who is all available at the store at what time. This would be a good report for you, Keith.
Who's in the store right now? Yeah.
Yeah. Tells you what their schedule is, who the employee is, and it's broken down by department. And in your case, Wayne, you want to see all your stores, you just choose all the departments, all the stores here, and you can see who all is at what location. It'll break it down by department and what time they.
So if Keith walked the store and he didn't like the way the produce department looked, he could look on there and say, hey, I'm going back through Little Rock on Thursday. Is department manager going to be there? And that's the way he could access that.
Exactly.
That guy's scheduled for that day.
Yeah, you can actually see his schedules, Keith.
Without having to call him or whatever, or text somebody. Or.
Yeah. And, this is also a good deal to say, hey, why do you have 23 people on staff at this time? It's really a good report. And this is just what we were working on earlier. That, in a nutshell, guys, is a program. You got to see something that you like, because this is really, really pretty useful. But it's like a tool. If you don't use it, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's not going to help if we don't use it.
That's right. And that's what we, just come down and show you how to use the program, how to use the clock. We'll probably get active in showing. A train the trainer is a really good person to have. Maybe one person within your organization that knows this program inside out, backwards, that they can answer most of your questions. If not, we have a help desk that'd be available. And the thing about this is, if you look at it, you're going to have all your pieces in one place. And we're working on making this seamless, transparent as possible. I've got a few minutes for you at 3 o'clock, because I got a meeting at 3 to answer any questions. You have my email.
Yeah, we're opening this new store in Pine Bluff, or it's in just a new store, in maybe in February. Will you know your time clock by then and have all the stuff? Because we're going to obviously have to open this store, and we don't want to buy the wrong time clock.
Yes, sir. We'll have probably limited stores that we're going to be releasing this to at the end of this month. By first of the year, we're working on earnings codes. FMS has 33 earnings codes bucket that we're trying to get it in there, but I might break that up into two pieces so that we have the main used ones, earnings codes being your holiday, your shift differentials, and things like that. So what we're working on right now to get all that computed in here so that you're able to have a fully functional operational time clock and scheduler, all that part of it working fully functional. So when we come in to train you, it's all there, and all we have to do is show you how to use it. It will be done.
Yeah, sounds good.
All we have to do is have you call Mark and schedule a time where we can really start, nailing down whenever it is that you'd like for us to start looking at. Maybe we go to some of the other stores and set them up first before we go to the new store with all the changes that might be coming about. So we have all the bugs worked out before the new store comes on. Then it's working seamlessly when we go to the new store, because you'll have enough going on at the new store. You don't want to worry about time clock. Because every install is going to be.
Yeah, we had that in the past. we learned a lot.
Yeah, so have I, over making a lot of mistakes over the years. So, I'll give you my experience on how to set up a store and how to make it fully functional. But this will be one key part of it.
Do you have like a sheet you could send us that has the cost of the time clock and all that stuff on it?
I will have Mark get that to you, because I don't know what conversations you've had. So let me get with Mark, say that would I be out of pocket if I said you're interested and want to get some more information?
No, you wouldn't be out of pocket for sure. We're definitely interested. So.
Pardon me?
We're definitely interested.
Okay, so I will get Mark to get something put together for you. In the meantime, guys, if you have any questions, please reach out. You have my email, Keith. If you need my information, I can send that to you. What's your email address, Keith?
You won't know your email address.
Oh, it is TexanInArk, TexAninArk at Suddenlink, SUDDENLINK.net.
Okay. TexanInArk.
Yes.
You're displaced.
I'm misplaced. That's correct.
Okay. All right, sir.
I've been here for a long time, so I ought to just be in ARC now. But
yeah. Okay, I'll just leave all that alone.
Okay.
Wayne, I appreciate your time. Keith, I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'll just send my contact information to you, and look forward to hearing from you soon.
Very good.
Good. Thanks.
Look forward to working with you on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.